Hi, my name is Nan Arkwright. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I've written several books to help kids learn about for social emotional learning. And I wanted to share with you a story today about Seymour, a blue-footed booby from the Galapagos in Ecuador, who has difficulty taking responsibility. And so, because that's hard for him for lots of different reasons, he finds it easier to just blame other people. And not then he never has to feel uncomfortable with looking at what happened, and he can just avoid the situation and just deny that he had anything to do with it and that it's actually everybody else's fault. So this is the picture of the cover of the book. So Seymour is mindful Seymour pauses, blaming others. So he's at his first day of school. Later in the day, he's playing freeze tag with his friends. He's having a fun time on the climbing structure, getting ready to go on because he's got his helmet ready to put on. And then he realizes all the kids are about to line up and he wants to be first in line. This is a highly coveted thing for many kids, to be first in line. So he realizes when he looks around that he might not be first in line because he's sort of not getting a head start. He wasn't prepared for this to happen. And so he's heading off in a way that he sees would get him there faster than the other birds, by taking a shortcut. But his sister, who kind of watches after him and helps him learn because he doesn't know about these things, is telling him, wait, stop. I want to help you with something. So he does stop and listen to what she has to say about these future vision goggles. And she says that's going to help you be able to see what will happen if you do take that shortcut path so you can be first in line. And so he's like entranced by the goggles and wants to know more about them. So he puts them on, and this is what he sees. He takes the shortcut and he goes by the swings where this older bird is swinging and hits him with her feet and hurts his wing. Then he runs past another older bird watering the garden, and he trips because just as he's trying to go over the hose on his shortcut path, she pulls on the hose and it accidentally trips him. And now he's really upset because I'm not first at all. I'm almost at the end of the line when he gets there. And so not only is it the end of the line, but this white bird cuts him off. And so he doesn't understand that and what's going on. So he, and from his perspective, from what he could see from the narrow range that he was viewing, he felt that all these birds were being mean to him. And he wasn't seeing, like, well, wait, you did something different from all the other birds and you didn't stop and think before you started taking a shortcut so that you could be first in line. But when that happened, it turns out that you see something different from your perspective than what the future vision goggles are going to show him. So he zooms in and he sees, oh, well, actually, that bird was telling me to be careful because that bird could anticipate that he was maybe going to get too close because he was so focused on getting in line, and she can't even stop in time. So she's yelling out, be careful. Then he goes past the gardener and he realizes what happened, like it was an accident. And she's even saying, oh no, she recognizes that she accidentally caused a problem when she wasn't expecting him to be in their space. And then he sees the sign, and that older bird is there, the white one. And he realizes, oh, they weren't even expecting me in their play area. So, oh, well, I was so he's in line and he's realizing he sees himself in line, and he's examining the owies that he got when he got kicked by the bird on the swing and tripped by the other bird. And then he's thinking about the white bird that cut in front of him, and he's thinking so much about that. Again, he's not paying attention to what's going on around him. And the other birds are actually being pretty nice and saying, go on, go. And another bird's wondering, well, how come he's not moving? And another one's like, I don't know, maybe he didn't hear. But he's also understanding that if he's not paying attention to what's going on around him, then even though he wants to be first in line, because that's the best, he thinks, it is causing a problem. And he's not trying to like do these things. He's not realizing the consequences of what he's doing impulsively like that. And so he doesn't even know until his sister shows him that. He's not realizing at all, like, it was you taking the shortcut that set off the sequence of events, like dominoes falling. And so he learns about that in the next part, because he does want to be safe. He wants to keep himself safe and the other birds safe. And so he zooms in again. Everything's in slow motion. He can see what's going on here. And then he can really see, not only did the bird try to caution him about the swing almost hitting him, but she stopped and asked him, are you okay? And then the other bird with this gardening actually says, here's a towel, you can use this to dry off. But he's not really paying attention to all of that either. And then there's the white bird that cut in front of him. Turns out, from what he's saying, he's looking around and seeing all the things that need to be addressed. And he says, well, I can help. And the other birds are all a little concerned as well. So back on the other page where we see him upset because that bird was cutting in front of him, that's an opportunity for kids to think about, well, why would he be doing that? Because sometimes things happen to us and we don't have an explanation for it. And so it's an opportunity to say, well, we don't really know why he was doing it. It looks like he was on a mission to do something. And then later in the story, you can find out what was going on, because he's assigned to be the helper bird, because he says, I can help. So that's his role out on the playground. And a lot of schools have those student opportunities to do that. And they can be very, very helpful. So he's saying to Turkis, I think I understand. I don't need to blame all the other birds if I'm accident. It's me, actually. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize all that was going to happen. And I was moving too fast. And now I understand. And he's grateful for her help in helping him see that, because he doesn't want to be for all of this to happen. So he says, I know now that I will have a space in line, and the teacher will wait for me to get there, even if I have to go the long way. So he's saying to himself, to kind of rehearse and to remember and to reinforce what he's learning, I'll slow down and be careful with my body so everyone's safe and other birds are not surprised by what I do. And then he's thinking, well, if I do get to the line and I'm not first, I still could find something to do that would be fun. So he's imagining he could play an I Spy game with somebody. And he's also kind of consoling himself with thinking, well, if I'm not first in line today, maybe I'll be first in line tomorrow or another day. So he's coming to terms with the idea of, well, things don't always go my way, and I can be okay with that. And if I am thoughtful about what's going on around me and careful with my body and moving more slowly, I can think about these things, even though I'm thinking on one hand about being first in line, but now I realize I also need to think about being responsible about how I get into line. And it's not just the end result that matters, it's the way that it happens that also matters. And it means that I'm thinking about the bigger picture of me and others' spaces. So Turkesa says, well, I have a badge that can help you remember that. I use it for that reason, to help me remember to pay attention to what's going on around me. And she introduces a new concept about believing in himself and growing into a bird that knows how to grow from the mistakes and knows how to not hold a grudge against somebody and not be blaming other people for things that actually were just mistakes. And so she reads it to him and says, well, pause, mistakes happen, take responsibility. Who will I become? So trying to get him to picture his future self as being a bird who can take responsibility, a bird who can understand that sometimes there's disappointments, sometimes things don't go the way you want, sometimes you don't get in line first, and it can still, it can be okay. And so he's beginning to see himself in that way and beginning to realize, well, I do want to be a bird who takes responsibility, and I can grow from my mistakes and I can grow from lessons that I learn. And so then he's starting to feel like, I want to see myself in this positive way. I want to be a bird who takes responsibility for mistakes and learning from them. And that feels good. And that is a character trait that I would like to develop in myself. And I see it as a positive thing, not a negative thought like, oh, you should be more responsible. He's not getting it framed in that way. He's learning this is helpful, and it feels good to be thinking about uh, what to do if you do make a mistake, and how you can make it right if you do make a mistake. So he is talking to the birds, and they're saying like, those are cool goggles. And then he's saying, yeah, they do help me learn from my mistakes. Instead of blaming others, I like it better this way. And now he is apologizing and saying, thank you for watching out for me. So they accept his apology and say, do you think that we can have a turn sometime? And he's like, yeah, it's sort of like a mirror. You can see who you are today, and you can see who you're becoming as you grow, which is pretty cool. So he's pulling on, he's looking at his higher self and looking and acknowledging and liking that recognition of the goodness inside of himself and wanting more of that. So that's the end of the story. He ends very happily and proud of himself. And so kids, I think, are, in my experience of working with them, is in small groups as well as in social skills groups, as well as in individual sessions, they do want to be like Seymour. They do want to be responsible for their actions. They do want to apologize if they think that they've done something. They're willing to do all that. It's in the way that the messages are presented to them, the lessons, opportunities for learning can be very positively presented so that it feels good and it's something that they can repeat and learn from. So I hope this is something that will be helpful to you and the child in your life to have a conversation about. Excuse me. I also will have on my website, when the book comes out soon, activities that kids can do to further reinforce the messages in the book, and also information for the adults working with the child, and ways that can help also when kids are having a hard time accepting that sometimes we make mistakes and we can recover from them and we can learn from them and grow from them. And we can like how that feels because we're doing those things and growing. And that's all about what we all do all our lives, is learn from mistakes that we make and grow from them and feel good about, oh, yeah, apologize when I needed to, because I do recognize that I did something. I was sincere in doing that. I recognized and shared what I would do differently next time, because I realized that that wasn't something that worked very well for anybody. And I want to be that kind of person like Seymour, who can do hard things like that and feel good about it, and be ready for the next time something similar happens, and be prepared because I've had this experience and all the support from others around him to be successful. So I hope that that was encouragement to you, and that you can encourage your child to learn about Seymour experiences and how they relate to your own child. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in another video about Seymour and another adventure where he's learning again about some social skills. Thank you.